Hello, everyone. Welcome to Global Voices. I have just a couple announcements, and then we'll get right into our conversation with our special guest. If you're an undergrad student, we will be giving convo credit. It will be after 1:15 that we'll be able to give you that credit. For those of you interested in future Global Voices, which I hope is a lot of you, Dr. Christopher Wright will be with us in a couple weeks, February 25th. If you are interested in that, please look to sign up online. Just type in Beeson Divinity School Global Center and events, and you should be able to find that. That is the 25th on a Friday. It's usually we're on a Thursday. Today it's actually on a Wednesday, and after that we'll kind of be on track. But check out our future Global Voices. We'd love to have you with us. Today we have a very special guest with us. I've really enjoyed getting to know him, Dr. Ivan Rusyn. He is the president of Ukraine Evangelical Theological Seminary, and I'm looking forward to you being able to hear from him, from his experience, and let's just get to it. If you would, please give us a little bit about your life and ministry and family before the war.
Well, I had a beautiful life before war. Enjoyed ministry in our seminary, in our newly planted church. We had a lot of plans, but everything changed on the 24th of February because of Russian aggression. So now we have different lifestyles, different priorities, and different goals in our life.
Okay. So just as a way to get to know, they will let them get to know you. Can you give us one thing that is uniquely Ukrainian about you? Now, I know that when I was there, that they said they loved the opera. Give me something like that.
Well, my accent is a little
That's true.
Ukraine, of course, I can say only good things. Ukraine is a beautiful country. Mm-hmm. And we are largest country, in territory-wise, in Europe. We have a very long history. And we love opera. Well, most of us love opera. My wife loves better opera than I do. So I invite you to visit Ukraine after the war. You will find that this is a very beautiful country.
Okay. You've told us a lot about your wife. Let them know a little bit about your wife.
I am married. My wife's name is Ludmila. She has theological education, bachelor and master degree in New Testament, but she is involved in business. She is leading Toyota dealership. It is one of the largest Toyota dealership in UK. So I am involved in full-time ministry. She is involved in full-time work. And two of us, we are involved in church planting. So we are officially church planters.
Okay. Excuse me. Let's get to the war. Tell us about your escape from your home in Bucha, just outside of Kyiv, and just the events that unfolded after that.
Yeah, we have been receiving a lot of information, especially from the United States, about possible war. And of course, we developed some plans for the seminary, but we didn't believe that in 21st century such war can happen. And we woke up early in the morning, so we told to each other, okay, it started. So I started to navigate our seminary. She started to contact her team. So I was able to left Bucha during 24th of February. I visited our seminary, so we spent time with our students and faculty. We had a joint prayer with students, and we implemented all of our plans. And I left Bucha, left seminary, I went to my home. But next morning, almost all bridges that united joined Bucha with Kyiv were exploded by our army, and it was a very smart move. So I have no opportunity to leave Bucha to went to the seminary. And it was very difficult experience for me because we had to hide in a basement. So basically speaking, my gym turned to be my shelter. And it was very hard to, to organize the evacuation of our students from the seminary being locked in Bucha. And we didn't expect that Belarus will allow Russia to use their land. As a result, we were very vulnerable. During the first day of the war, Russians, they were less than 5 miles from Kiev. So, and Bucha was among the first cities that they occupied. So we saw Russian helicopters, jets, tanks, from first days of the war, and it was not easy. And then maybe on 28th of February, it was a perfect day. Blue skies, no explosions, no helicopters. And my wife, she heard like from the Lord, you have 15 minutes to evacuate. We made a decision with my wife that we will never leave Kiev. We will stay in Kiev because I am leading a school and a church and she's leading a business. But we had her two brothers with 4 children, and also her aunt with her son. At that moment he was 12 years old, and he was about to be a refugee for the second time. In 2014, he had to flee from Donetsk, from east part of Ukraine. 2022, he had to flee from Bucha. And my wife's brothers, they were hesitant. They were like, everything like okay. And they didn't want to leave, but their children, they got ill because we are staying in the basement, it's cold, it's February. So my wife, she told them, I am your older sister, you must obey me. You have like 20 minutes, we must leave. So I remember when I was saying bye to my wife, having no idea if she will make it or not. She left her rings, all of her jewelry, because she was afraid if she will be stopped by the Russian soldiers, it may cause a problem. And so she left, and she was able to evacuate, to lead evacuation of 5 adults and 5 children. And I would like to underline and encourage you that sometimes you, in your life, may be quite sure that God is not present. He is somewhere else. And later, when you look back, you see how God was orchestrating everything. And He was present in a very specific way. Later, we learn that it was the only opportunity that she had to escape. Russian soldiers, they moved backward a little bit, so just perfect time. And she found the route. Later, she shared that route with hundreds of people. And by the way, our students and staff survived because of that route. The bus that was evacuating our student was stopped because there was a heavy combat going on, and there was like one road. He was almost surrounded. So I am calling to that driver and saying, where are you? And he said, we have to wait. There is a combat going on. So I told him, my wife, she's like 1 hour ahead of you. She found a way. And I explained him. And that bus was following my wife. And I remember sitting in Bucha and seeing on my computer there are 2 GPS dots on the Google map. One is for my wife and one for driver of the bus. So this is the way how God used my wife, not just to save lives of children, but also to save life of my students that I was responsible for.
Wow. There's so much to talk about. We're just going to go from several different topics and things that he and I talked about yesterday. I thought it was really interesting. We have a common background in missiology. He has a PhD in missions, missiology. And the person you wrote about was Leslie Newbigin. How did Leslie Newbigin prepare you for this moment?
I want to motivate you to get a theological education. You know, sometimes we think, oh, it's a theory. There is nothing more practical than good theory. And I did my dissertation on Newbigin, and now I understand why. So several things helped me during these 12 months of the work. First of all, this is about international mission. We have to be present. If we are following Christ in this mission, we have to be incarnated. We have to be present. So we have to have same scars our society has. This is what makes us authentic. Deep theological answers are not needed at this moment in Ukraine. People are looking for sympathy, for presence. And also what is important, I realize that compassion is not just a strong emotion. First of all, it means to suffer together, to suffer in the same way. It's not very pleasant when you have to be among war, but you know, God gives enough grace. I don't consider that I had to be there. It was not a difficult decision. So it was like this, I want to be there because they are my people, my nation. So another idea which is very important from Newbigin is how do we make the gospel public to recover publicity of the gospel. And there is this dichotomy between secular and sacred. And we agreed playing on that game, on that according to that rules. Oh, we are just, religion is private, you know, you have to just worship God and expect our evacuation to happen. Gospel is so powerful, it's not a political program, but it is so powerful that it also impacts even politics. So our question right now is, after the war, how do we make gospel present in every area of our society? So we want to make gospel present not just within the church, but we want to see the gospel being preached and implemented in downtown, on the squares. So, and another idea which is very powerful from Leslie Newbigin is, you know, mission is a communal thing. You can't do mission by yourself. So it's like a partnership of different people. So priesthood of all believers is a key. You know, I will never be able to preach to doctors or lawyers. I am nobody for them. But the disciple of Christ who is working on a high level, he's professional. People can experience the presence of the kingdom through such professionals. So this is just few ideas that were very helpful from Newbigin.
So in 1996, I was a Beeson Divinity student, and I went on a trip to Ukraine, not because it was required, because I wanted to, just shaming my students for that. But it was a great experience, and one of the things that really stuck out to me, by the way, here's a picture of me and one of my fellow students near the colonnade in Odessa. What stuck out to me since then is when they explained to me that Baptists were considered a cult there. Now, granted, some of us here consider a cult, but I digress. But Protestant groups in general really were thought of and treated as cult members. And so I followed up on that yesterday, honestly having no idea what his response would be. And I said, is that still true?
There is a huge transformation in Ukraine, which took place last 30 years. We got religious freedom 30 years ago. So now we are not persecuted and we are not marginalized as Protestant evangelical believers. Everything started 8 years ago when we had a revolution of dignity, when we told to our government that we will not tolerate corruption anymore. And as a result, Russia annexed Crimea, started a war at east part of Ukraine. And evangelical churches, Baptists, Pentecostals, Presbyterians, they demonstrated a radical solidarity with our nation. Every church would host refugees, provide food, medicine, and our society recognized that. Our government recognized that. We celebrated 500 years of Reformation on a national level. There was a special law by the president commanding us to celebrate on a national level. For us, it was like a miracle.
We kind of missed that one publicly here.
During this war, churches are doing a great thing. I can't imagine our people without support from churches. Evacuation of people, feeding, providing medicine, spiritual support. It's massive. Very often when Russia occupies a city, all Ukrainian authorities, they must leave. The only institution that remains is the church. So, for example, we have a martial law. If you are between 19 and 65, you can't leave the country. There is no way for you to leave Ukraine legally. So you may ask, what are you doing here? How you left Ukraine? I left Ukraine because I got a special permission from the government. A few months ago, our president issued a law which provides opportunity people like I am to travel abroad if I have like a humanitarian mission. And this is a confirmation from the government that churches are doing a significant ministry. So our nation is blessed, and millions of people, they got support because of churches. And we will never be considered as cult or a sect anymore. And why this happens also, this happens because we have faithful, missional, and generous people, including United States of America. On 24th of February, we had nothing to share with our suffering nation, only our lives. But because of generosity of people in United States, we received a lot of provision to share with our people. So many organizations from the States and people, you have your thumbprint in many lives. And beyond physical support, when church is present, people have hope that Jesus is present. So very often when we go to the east part of Ukraine, we say to soldiers, thank you very much for your service. And they say, no, thank you for your service. So through church, through that solidarity and relief ministry, through holistic ministry, thousands of Ukrainians, they learn that God cares about them. And many Ukrainians, when we shared the Bible with them, they would kiss it. I have never seen it before. So thousands of Ukrainians, they have been touched by God's love. And atheistic society, secular society, they see it.
So this influence and change of opinion hasn't just been Ukrainian society, and not even government just in general, but very specifically President Zelensky. Can you tell us about what you told me yesterday?
You know, I always say this, and this is my way to confess. When Zelensky became a president, I had a deep depression. I was so embarrassed. You know, he's a comedian. He's a good guy, but he's a comedian, you know. We have a war in Ukraine. So I was really upset. But he turned out to be a great leader. And I thank God that we have a president like him. In the beginning of his ministry as a president, he kind of sent a message or presented himself as a non-religious guy, like atheist, agnostic. So he was not very like open to have a meeting with all Ukrainian churches council that we are part of. But if you will listen his last speech on Christmas, I am not sure that every Ukrainian pastor can develop such sermon. It is profoundly biblical. He is quoting of the Old Testament, New Testament. He speaks Christian language. I don't want to tell you that, he become member of our church. No, I can't say this, but it is clear that God is doing something. It's clear that our president, our society, we just recognize that without God, we have no future. And also, our nation is moved to tears when we see how hospitable other countries and societies are to our country. Poland, United States, Canada, and everybody knows that it's a Christian influence. So there is a profound impact on our president, on our government, and this is it is because of this I have a very bright vision for future of Ukraine, because now our nation is broken, but if we will survive, if we will win, we will always remember why we survived and why people helped us. So there will be a profound impact of biblical values on our country.
Last year, we had Dr. Enoch Wan as a guest, and he is known as an expert, even coined the phrase on diaspora missiology. And just briefly, what that means is that as peoples are moving around the world, God is moving among them as they are on the move, either through intentional immigration or through simply fleeing as a refugee. How have you seen this at work? And explain what you said to me yesterday about the phrase sent refugee.
Yeah, we learned that our worldview, our convictions, they play a significant role. Doesn't matter you are in Ukraine or you are abroad. In Ukraine, as a seminary being hit by 6 missiles, when 99% of our faculty are refugees, we had 100% to quit. Okay, but we decided not to quit. We decided even to extend our ministry. Also, if you had to flee Ukraine, you can develop this mentality. Oh, I am most luckiest person. I have no future. But if you read Bible carefully, you can develop different values. That you are not just a refugee, you are sent. You are sent with a mission, and you can turn evil into something good. So we have a lot of parts of Russian missiles on our campus. We found them. And recently I got a vision what we will do with those weapons. We will turn them into crosses. So we won't turn weapon into crosses, our tragedy into service. And diaspora is a key component. So we try to motivate our fellow citizens that left Ukraine that they might be instruments in God's hand. And we see that it encourages them on a spiritual level, but also on a psychological level. So they see a reason to be in Poland, England, or United States. But our challenge is how to provide our community with a deep knowledge or competence. The big problem that we have in Ukraine is our prompt reaction with a very shallow approach, like oh, just pray and God will heal. You lost all of your family. Oh, God will help you. The problem is profoundly deep. So how do we equip our people, our churches, that we can work with such trauma? We can equip a diaspora. Of course, first years we are concentrated on Ukrainian, but the final destiny of diaspora to become not just a Ukrainian church in Great Britain, but to become a church for everybody. So we have to see the seasons. In Ukraine, for example, our first time time is lament. We have to spend enough time to lament. After lament, we know that there will be time, very difficult and complicated time, for trauma healing. And only then we will gently and slowly try to move to forgiveness and reconciliation. So sometimes we feel a little bit uh, like also wounded when people come and say, no, reconciliation, you have to reconcile. Well, give us time to cry. So, but it's also another thing. We see this danger that we might become like hostages of this war and our trauma. We don't want to become. We want to become free. But it's so profoundly deep that you can't go just like in transit, like quickly. So also with diaspora, we have to have that final vision. I see a Ukrainian origin church in the United States of America who open its door for every refugee. Doesn't matter from which country. Yes, we do remember our past, we do remember our story, our roots, but we are not limited to the Ukrainian culture. Why I'm saying this? Because I see, if you want to visit Ukrainian museum, visit Ukrainian churches in the United States of America. They speak the language we spoke 20 years ago. They joke this. They have the same joke from that era. And I tell to my friends, our graduates, my classmates from the seminary who are pastoring churches, man, you have to leave Ukrainian language. You are in the United States because you are losing your children. They don't speak Ukrainian. So we have to develop like appropriate diaspora missiology. And I'm very happy to see that under Lausanne movement, this area of ministry is developed. And I'm happy to see that this diaspora compendium is published. And by the way, we are working we are looking for resources to translate it into Ukrainian. And I'm happy to know that Dr. Christopher Wright is visiting you soon. He visited us a few years ago in Ukraine, and I'm quite sure you will have a great time with him.
I didn't plan on an extra advertisement for, but just in case, go online. So, what else would you tell us about what you see God doing, how He's working in the midst of all of this?
God is present in Ukraine. First days of the war, when we had meeting of my 3 friends in the Bible Society, just reflecting on everything we saw, we were joking if God left Ukraine as thousands of people left. But He hasn't left. He is in Ukraine. He is present in a very special way. I want you to know that this war is not about land. This war is about the very existence of Ukrainian as a separate ethnic group with own culture, values, and language. Unfortunately, there is no space for the Ukrainian identity under Russian dominion. So if we will be defeated, we will be destroyed, our culture will be erased. Because first thing what Russian soldiers do, they arrest evangelical pastors, they kidnap them, they close and confiscate churches, they forbid Ukrainian language, they destroyed Ukrainian libraries. It's clear for us that under Russian dominion, there is no space for us. This is not the first attempt when Russian Empire wanted to destroy Ukrainian nation. 1933, There was a man-made famine. Millions of Ukrainians died because of that. So we fight not for land. We fight for our existence. And unfortunately, Russia does not just want to kill our bodies, but they want to kill our soul. So this is why Ukrainians fight. And for us, it's clear: fight or die. So, since we are in Birmingham and Martin Luther King was here, and I like to quote him, but let me quote him. Injustice somewhere is a threat for justice everywhere. My friends, we are created in a way that we cannot fully celebrate and enjoy freedom, democracy, justice if there is a small nation who is being killed and destroyed just because they want to have justice, democracy. We enjoy freedom. We enjoy democratic election. So this is what is going on in Ukraine. So I want you to pray for Ukraine. It's I can smile because maybe because we cry out all of our tears. There is not good news from Ukraine in this moment. We are expecting a new wave of invasion. But I ask you to pray. God does work. I don't have non-spiritual explanation how Kiev sustained. It was surrounded by Russians. So we just, okay, and maybe tomorrow we will fail. Maybe tomorrow we survive. And the Russians, he just disappeared from Kiev's area. So the only explanation I have, it was God. If you have resources, support our relief ministry. This is a question of life and death. And the most vulnerable are elderly people. You know, when you deliver food to a blind man, you know that in Kiev there is no grocery stores, no transportation. How he will survive? And we are feeding a lot of people in our cafeteria, and in a seminary we have a joke among faculty that Jesus sometimes is present on our hermeneutics class or theology class. More often he is present in our chapel, but we definitely know when we break bread with strangers in our cafeteria, Jesus is 100% there. So it's a unique moment when we can take care about our community. If you have resources, support institutions, education institutions, we have to develop competency. How we will navigate our society through all of these phases toward reconciliation. We need to have extra skills, extra knowledge. You have a lot of competency. Now we are translating a lot of books. Of course, I would love to write, our faculty are writing books. We are not ready. The only way to help our society is to translate everything that you wrote. And last and not least, be our advocates in your society. Do advocacy on behalf of Ukraine. We are grateful to the United States government providing special equipment for us. This is not enough to finish this war. So, and you might wonder, why have you bother about Ukraine military? Well, in 1985, we made a deal. Ukraine, United States, Great Britain, and Russia. They told us, if you get rid away your nuclear stuff, huge collection, we will guarantee your freedom and your protection. 8 years ago, Russia attacked us. And the phrase we hate to hear, oh, we are deeply concerned what Russia is doing. This phrase does not help. So we beg, and I feel a little bit strange as a pastor being in a great theological divinity school speaking about military stuff. We need that support as well. And we want this war to be finished. We are not praying for peace in Ukraine. We are praying for just peace. And such peace is possible only if Ukraine will win, if we will push Russians from our territory. So this is what I want to ask you to do for us.
Within what you've already said, there are multiple prayer requests, of course. Is there anything else that we can pray for that comes to mind?
Pray for Ukrainian pastors and ministers, so that God will give us more and more energy, because it's the hardest thing. The hardest thing is to see how other people are suffering, especially old people, women with children. Old people, they have not deserved such life. So what really makes me cry when I see it is when people, they are going through extreme suffering. And also pray for us that God will show us the way how we can disciple our churches and our nation, so that we will finally achieve that moment when Ukraine will be healed. And yes, we will remember this horrible past, but we will be free from that past. So this is what I want to ask today.
Right. We will send some prayer requests to those of you who've signed up.